Today I'm going to talk crossers, some of our cross game. Had some guys ask about that. On Wednesday, I'll talk about the inside, the third man choice, which is really our slide package. And then we'll get into quick game paired with the seam read and some things that we do with that. But some guys that ask about the shallow stuff. Some guys were on Twitter, and I put some stuff out on that about what we do. We have a pretty good shallow game. Shallow is probably the route that has stayed the most consistent over the years for me. I mean, we've run shallow since 2005, 2004, and it's been pretty similar. The good thing about shallow, it really doesn't matter, your quarterback's ability. You're not asking them to have to throw the ball down the field. You're just asking them to make a good decision and be accurate with the ball. So really any kinds of quarterbacks can have success running this series. That's why it's kind of one that I would say we run every year, regardless of the talent of our kids. And, it's good for us, and different people do it different ways. And, I'll show you the way that we've done it, and some different variations and things that we do to it that to kind of make it go. But we call it our 90s series. So, in our terminology, 90s would be, it's the shallow is coming from the call side. So if we said 90, the shallow is going to come from the right, and the back is going to check release to the right. And we're going to have what we call our hunt route or dig route coming from the opposite side of the call. So as the general, just to give you an overview of the play, and then I'm really going to get into the details of it. If we have 90, 92, 94, 96, 98, it would look exactly like this. All of those calls are the same play. The shallow, again, is always the closest guy to the football, to the call side. He's going to be the guy running shallow, unless we run shallow switch, shallow swap. We do different things like that. I'll go over it. Outside receivers, they're splits. We want max splits, on the numbers, the bottom of the numbers. And they have 4 routes. We call them forced outside release. And we're telling them to beat their man deep and run them to the fence. Now, what we don't tell these guys is they're literally never going to get the ball unless it's a peak situation. I talked about how we'll have some peak looks coverage wise. So that would be the only way those guys would get the ball, unless we tag them on something. And I'll get into how we tag the outside receivers versed on, against defensive reactions. First receiver to the call side, he's our shallow guy. I'm going to get into his rules and what he's supposed to do on that play. Our backside receiver, again, is going to be the dig guy, hunt guy. We've used different terminology with that over the years. And then we have the back in the swing. So in the general base way we run this, it's essentially a triangle read. The defender that we are looking to read for our quarterback is the area outside defender away from the call side. So if it's a 90s call, he's on the shallow. This is the guy we're identifying pre-snap. We're finding that area outside defender. And remember how we find him. It's the guy closest to the line of scrimmage from the sideline. That's the guy that we're going to read on this play. And we're going to get some coaching points on the shallow. All right. We want to foot fire against any kind of press situation. Now, with that said, as I get back to this original picture, rarely, I've been running this a long time, guys don't press the slots. I mean, we don't get a lot of press coverage on our slot receivers. If we do, this is a good thing to run, and I'll show you some different ways to do it. But if it is press, we're going to foot fire. And the key coaching point is we run through the feet of these defensive linemen. All right. So, we don't want to gain ground until we cross the center, and then we'll build it to 3 to 5 yards. Okay. So in terms of shallow, that's really a key coaching point. All right. We want to have a sense of urgency with the dig. So let's get back to the dig. Let's just take a look at that again. Most important thing for the dig man, he wants to be 8 to 10 yards from the tackle. All right. Because we want to, again, isolate this defender and pull him out of the box as much as possible. The other key coaching point, and I'm going to show you clips of good and bad. So I'm going to show you why this doesn't work when certain things aren't done properly. We want to outside release this guy, and we do not want to stick it back until we get to 10 yards. All right. If we break it inside of him and we break it shorter, what happens against zone coverage, you will turn this guy's eyes onto the shallow. All right. We want to force him to wall off. We talked about those different, ways that those area outside defenders will defend you if you're running vertical. We want him to think vertical stem all the way here. All right. So we want him to have to try to get under it or possibly expand. So we're either going to sit in a hole, all right, away from him if he ends up jumping that, or we want him to wall off and we want to hit this guy running. All right. So that's really the key part to it in terms of the dig route versus the shallow route. The other key coaching point on the dig, you have to win outside. If it's man and he stacks him, now we want to get on top of him and break it flat across the field to find grass. All right. And, again, against man coverage, if it's press, we got a foot fire, you're going to work to get it. So those are just really the key, parts of that before we start to get into this. So the reason that this play really is so good, guys, if you can teach those two things and you can get your quarterback, it has answers for any coverage. So it's good against anything. It's really, there's no coverage that it's really not good against. It's a great way to beat the blitz. It's got a built-in horizontal and a vertical stretch to your passing game, which I think is really, really critical. And it gives you the opportunity to attack the open grass. All right. And in terms of protecting your quarterback feels really comfortable when you run shallow, at least ours does. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's a straight drop, so we don't angle drop the quarterback on this. It's not our soft roll or run and shoot protection. We're going to bring him straight back. It's 3-step in the gun. We have built-in hots for him to both sides. And the key part for the quarterback, you can't get caught, with the football. All right. You can't get caught with the football. And that kind of goes into what we talk about in terms of the passing game. If they're thinking your guys aren't playing fast, number one, and number two, it's really easy for our quarterback when we start to look at these reads. So he's going to be extremely confident in what he's looking at. And, what I mean by that is this. So, we have the hots built in. So if we're getting these edge pressure situations, we identify this and it is built, to beat that kind of stuff, right? Your shallow game, really gives you an opportunity, to be able to do those kind of things. And, that's kind of what we're going to get into here. So it's multiple. We prefer to get 5 out. All right. Now there's times we don't get 5 out, and now we bring up the clips. I'll show those to you. But we have answers for man, zone, and pressure. All right. The other thing shallow does for you, it's similar to a jet sweep concept. We like jet sweep. I like shallow. If you've got a fast guy, if you've got a guy you can get the ball to, it's a great way to get the ball to him in space. It really is in these kind of situations. Get your best guy out there running, get him with the football, and get those guys having to try to chase him. I think it's a good deal. And like I said, really similar thinking to the jet sweep. Okay. Makes your athletes faster. It's going to get you natural rubs against press. All right. And it's great into the boundary. All right. Shallow really to me is a really good boundary play, especially against, if you see a lot of 4-2-5 teams that want to play with 2 high safeties, they a lot of times negate that boundary defender. All right. That nickel guy, they'll put him to the field. They'll try to play the safety, maybe cheat him down a little bit into the boundary, but they leave themselves kind of exposed in what I call that area outside defender. So it gives you a really good chance to kind of exploit that. Now, again, it's 3-step in the gun. Our read, okay, is again, the area outside defender away from the call side. So the side the shallow's coming to. So we're going to read him to go shallow to the dig to the swing. All right. The swing's the third guy, unless there is an accelerator for that swing I'm going to get into. All right. So again, we want the shallow. We want to stay big in the pocket. All right. And what I mean by that, there are times we'll take that 3-step drop. Well, we'll start getting away from that almost like it's a screen. And that's fine. We don't overcoach those mechanics there on the quarterback for that. We mean get big. Hey, you might have to back up and get out of there so you can get the ball to that shallow coming across. All right. That's a big deal. All right. Because again, don't get caught with the football. We don't want to take a sack on this. All right. It's critical that we don't. Again, the coaching points of the shallow, just to review, run through the feet of the defensive line, work to that depth of 5 yards. Do not look for the football until you cross the center. Catch it and get to the numbers before you get upfield. That is critical. I'll show you when we get to the film on that. Again, the dig, 8 to 10 from the tackle, must release outside, get him to turn his back to you. All right, that's the key, because that's what our quarterback's reading. All right, now once we get to the break point at 10 yards, we're either going to sit in a first window or a second window. Okay, now the running back, he's in our protection. And I'm going to talk about protection in a whole nother clinic. But, if we may have a call where he's got a free release, we're not checking releasing him. If he's got a check release, though, he's going to check release, and then he's going to swing wide to the shallow side. Now, when we say wide, the coaching point, we don't want him to bubble back. He's going flat down the line. We want him to get 3 steps in the ground before he looks for the football, because we want to get that defense stretched. All right, we want to stretch the defense horizontally. Now, he's alert, hot for pressure. So what happens is, we get these potential pressure, these edge situations. Well, our quarterback's going to know we don't got to check out of this play, because we've got a shallow to one side, we've got a back to the other side. So regardless of what they end up doing, we're going to end up going to that. And we have little calls that I'll get to against pressure as well.